disappears. That's an interesting thing to look at. Yeah, we don't write scrolls or books or anything like that. Perhaps that's why the people in the old days used to actually carve things in stone, because they knew that was the only way it was going to be preserved. I mean, even if we wrote it down in books, how long are the books going to last anyway? It's an interesting way to look at the world. When you really see how much we are having our life skills and our knowledge taken from us and transferred into...
Plans to cap the cost of UK funeral and cremation services have been shelved by the UK government, leaving the public...
motives behind Judea, Cappadocia. Really, what is destroying this civilization and what is creating this?
I've got the evidence as independent.
I'm going to have to wait for 6 months to get feed again to get exposed and seen a chip for 4 Father's Day now. And
Who said you can't see over 6 months?
Well, I don't actually report.
You single little bastards out there. Do you hear me? Your time will come. Your time will come. I might not be able to reach out because you blackmailed my son. Adults. You know what you're doing, your demons. I've went back through all my audio evidence recordings. Everything I've done to help a certain adult son of mine in the UK. You think your demons have control, this planet, this earth, the flesh and blood they're living, those that are fully aware of what's going on. You don't control my soul. And I'm sure to goodness, yeah, play this back, do the big brother thing, what you're doing. You do not ever, ever control my own DNA family. 12th of June 2021, I got the evidence of twice. How you're triggering off. This goes back in history, not just me, the others like me. There's a gentleman in America did a brilliant stream earlier about exactly the same subject I stumbled across. It's not by coincidence he come across the Majestic 12 and the documents and Nelson Rockefeller and all these old documents to date. Here we are. It's all about control. 13 bloodlines. Majestic 12, it's called, the documents. And that gentleman also made reference to the weather because it covers a lot of good subjects like that. And also I come across the world food shortages. This was a document dated 1974. And the leather string got cut off since I shared that document, which I'm not going to do again. The depopulation of the planet Earth. Who gives the consent of the demonic entities on this earth? In the bodies of men and women. Demonic. Extremely demonic. And then you're using the document 2013 called Food as a Weapon. Yeah. 1974 United Nations World Food Conference. 1974, I was only a young child. I had no idea about all this then. So, all these in history, and I always wondered why I was good at history. But there you go. You see, you have to go back in history to know where we are in 2021 plus. It's all about control. I've uploaded a video about what they're doing outside. Quite big new camera. CCTV, linked to AI, linked to the public servants in my area. I know why you block everything. I know what you're doing. Not you per se, somebody watching this, but powers that be, I should say. They're using the flats around me where I live. And one particular one is very demonic. And I'm not going to go into it all because I'm not going to play in the hands of the powers that be. They know exactly what I know. All AI is meant to be uppercase letters, AI control. So, I have evidence. Sadly, it's not just me, but first is to keep your head in the sand and take no notice of what's going on in the bigger picture. Or a distraction? No, because we're living, breathing it 20 hours a day. So I wonder if this doesn't get cut off, this screen of a webcam. If you don't believe this planet's being destroyed, it's not by natural phenomena. Educate yourself. At this time of day. Here we go. This is London, England at 20 past 8. The red iron oxide and orange colour iron oxide covering the whole sky is just getting. This is obviously weather engineering as well. I'm just going to randomly go on this live webcam, which I'd noted earlier. Too many light sources up in that sky. If you go back to the 1947 documents I've read about crash and these alleged, well, the document states actually fact. These ships coming in, crashing to Earth out there in America. This is, I don't know what it's just America, but there you go. But you don't know which is natural sun anymore, which is the natural cloud. You see, when you see the light exposure, I mean, this radiation around this great big white sun. I haven't even bothered to take kilograms of beaches because I know people out there ignoring what's about it. And it's the lightening positivity that people are seeing and observing what's going on. There's a spiritual awakening on this earth, like conquer darkness. But you see, a lot of people have sold their souls out to the darkness, you know, to survive. People that have not. So, yeah. I wish I could reach out. It's like one of the audio recordings I've got, a conversation I did protect him and me. And I confirmed that my ex-army brother knew all those years ago. He couldn't say anything because he's the Ministry of Defence going to come today. When he joined me, I reckon it was 1980s, could be 1979. I lived in a navy town at the time in England, and I just left. I think I could have been in school or university, not university, college. For work experience. It was the very late 70s, early 80s that he got forced to join by my late mum. So I know the HALT program has been ever since I was a child. and all these years are just destined to learn knowledge. There's no point. I mean, it's a bit like these futuristic movies, really. It's like we're living in a movie. You've got tourist buses going around your cities and people to see them. So it's a shame. And people above me don't, you know, they get told disinformation about my private. So let's go back and find the live worth I can. And I've been looking at other observations, people's live streams and care for what they do. It's on the sky. The planetary body system is up there. And, you know, all this phenomenon, this all the hidden knowledge. You see, there's extra planetary bodies. We're not the only system. And the technology is so advanced with brain interface as well. Okay, this particular type of webcams. It is UK becoming authoritarian dictatorship. Cannot believe it. I can. Because it's been planned that way. People are capturing things in different parts of the world, but I don't get feeds. I don't know how many. I'm not investing in another laptop because everything is controlled. Everything. Food, water, Internet of Things. But you see, as you can see, obviously, nobody comes into live chat because they block everybody. They've got notifications. You see, the old, what format is to gain knowledge, which is important. The thing is, when you see some beautiful I love seeing natural nature. If you existed upon the skies, and it's coming into the water and on the natural inhabitants, the land, the plants, the wildlife, they're eating that. And I'm sure there's beautiful parts of the world, but you see, only when there's the old webcam you might be able to see. And then you're hearing about rumours of war, the HAARP geoengineering setting off fires. They call it wildfires, don't they? What's going on? Letting people's livelihoods. So, Anomalous official uploaded. Watch the next 24 hours. Prepare yourself. So, I'm playing the audio in the background. while our trying something to read. Blessings to all those that are getting information out, and forgiveness is very hard when you know who's behind a lot of things. So, Anonymous YouTube channel.
Be there for people in the future to hear. None of the writings I write will be around for people to read because they only exist in the virtual world. All the films I make, none of this stuff is real. None of the stuff that we do online is actually here in the real world. And all the stuff we think we might be leaving behind for future generations, we're actually not. We're just putting it all into a virtual world. And the virtual world is basically taking this information from us and it's putting us in a position where all they have to do is flick the power off. And suddenly everything we've created all disappears. And that's an interesting thing to look at. Yeah, we don't write scrolls or books or anything like that. Perhaps that's why the people in the old days used to actually carve things in stone because they knew that was the only way it was going to be preserved. I mean, even if we wrote it down in books, how long are the books going to last anyway? It's an interesting way to look at the world. And when you really see how much we are having our life skills and our knowledge taken from us and transferred into a virtual world, it really does give one pause to question the motives behind this and where we're really going to with all this. Really, what is destroying this civilization and what is creating this huge hole, this huge gap that is going to be there in history for future generations, because it is, folks, it's going to be a huge hole in history when people try to figure it out this time. We look at that and we realize because of apathy, it's because being set up, being pushed into these cities, these areas of population, being trained to be completely dependent upon a system which only supplies 3 days. You know, you go to the shop 3 days to food on, and then the trust comes and stop the shop. People within this completely dependent upon a system, they become completely dependent upon the internet and the virtual world for the knowledge that they have. So what happens when you take it away? What happens when you turn the power on and the trucks stop coming to the supermarkets and filling the shelves? And what happens to these people? I mean, none of them have any real life skills anymore. Not many of them even have the most basic understanding of what it means to be human. They plant a tree, or go fishing, or catch their food, or grow food, or whatever it is they eat. I mean, they don't know how to do any of this other basic stuff. They might be great with letters or numbers or something, but what does that mean as a human being? And what does any of this stuff we do mean as a human being? You know, you look at the state that this civilization is in, and then you look at the technology that we are finding in relation to Tartaria, and you ask yourself how they fell, why they disappeared. And I would suggest we are seeing a practical example of how they disappeared unfolding right before our eyes in the world today. We're being set up. And really, the more you step back and look at it and consider that to be a possibility, the more it becomes obvious and the more it makes a lot of sense. And a lot of people can see this, and then a lot of people can see that there's something terribly wrong. They can see that we're being set up. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who notice the things that I notice. But in the overall scheme of things, in the overall human condition, even with these realizations coming to people, and even with people seeing the problems that we have, they still look for saviors from an external source. They still wait for someone to come along to lead them to safety. What's that going to do if we have a lawsuit and we change the present system, we change the present government? Well, what do? We put another government in place and we find ourselves in the same position. I mean, None of these things are the way out, folks. I mean, what lawsuit? What do you even want to launch a lawsuit for? You're launching a fictional lawsuit against a fictional system. I mean, the whole thing's fiction, folks. Nothing in it has anything to do with being human. But you see this everywhere. You see people saying, yes, I'm the knight on the white judge. I'm going to lead us all to safety. Just sit back, don't do anything, and follow me. We have people with independent media saying, yeah, I'm taking on the deep state. I'm going to launch a lawsuit against these people. And the people out there in YouTube land and the people out there in the world watch all this stuff and they sit there and they eat popcorn and they wait for some big change to happen, but it never comes. It's like they're watching a TV show. It's what I call the spinal version of reality. People are just waiting for the next chapter. And they sit there and they watch and they wait and they get all excited and they think something's going to happen. And no matter how much it never does, they still don't do anything themselves. They just sit there waiting and watching and waiting and watching and waiting for something to happen. But it just never does. And what we're waiting for, all of this smart grid is right around us, and by the time people notice the smart grid, it's going to be too late. So that's what it's about, folks. It's about the truth. It's not about all of this speculation and conjecture. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It matters what the truth is and how we can use the truth to our advantage to establish some freedom in the world. And that's what it's about. And really that's what we should be focusing on rather than getting caught up in the details. Arguing over details that we can't prove either way about all of these things. We don't look at the bigger picture. We don't look at how the legislation will be used. And we don't direct our energy towards the liars that are running this system and simply disconnect from it. You're not going to help by launching lawsuits against the government. The government's a fiction. It's just an idea. Pull your support from it. Stay home for a day. Imagine if the whole world stayed home for a day. I've been saying this for 10 years on the radio show, folks, calling for a day of non-compliance, but the whole world just disconnect for a day and see what happens. And once people did that, it'd send a shockwave around the world and it would also inspire them to maybe want to do it more than a day. This is how we can make a difference, folks. There's not going to be any leaders come along. We can make a difference by changing our perspective ourselves, disconnecting from this system. And as I said, one of the big problems is that people can't see the way out because they're waiting for someone to lead them to safety. They can't see that the way out is within themselves. Because it doesn't matter what anybody leads you to. It doesn't matter what sort of system comes along. It doesn't matter which president comes online. It doesn't matter which government is replaced by whichever government takes their place. If we haven't changed what's in our hearts and we haven't changed our moral compass, then we'll simply end up back where we are now. That's the problem. People want to sit inside and just look at the situation in the world and stay undercover and hope it all goes away and wait for the newsletter that tells them that it's safe to go outside now. It doesn't work like that, folks. It'll never be safe to go outside until we change our moral compass. And if we change our moral compass and we refuse to comply with anything which causes us to step outside our moral compass, then we don't need a new system. We don't need a Venus project. We don't need an Ubuntu. We don't need anything. All we need is for us to start acting within our moral compass. And if we do that, then the system that is here already will change around us because it won't have any other choice but to do so. The only reason the system exists in its current form today is because we comply with it. We step outside our moral compass in order to abide by legislation which doesn't serve us or anybody else. And that's the problem. That's the whole thing, folks. And if we haven't changed what's in our hearts, it doesn't matter what system comes along. We'll just end up back the way we are, and that's the way it will work. And people want change, but they don't want to change, and they can't see that it doesn't matter what we create. It has to come from within, and then we don't have to create anything external. It will come about by its own accord simply because we've changed our perspective of how we look at things and how we interact with things. That's all this fighting and argument and all this irrelevant stuff. It's just completely irrelevant. I've been so frustrated with the Christchurch thing over people arguing over the details and so desperately wanting to be right and claiming that it's fake and all this sort of stuff. I don't want it to be right either way. I don't care what it is either way. I just want the real evidence to reveal itself so we can use the real evidence to bring the system down, because there's a lot of really good evidence in the video that has revealed itself. But you can't get any focus on it because people want to argue over all these speculative details and nobody can prove either way, which will tie us up in infighting for the next 20 years. And meanwhile, this whole smart grid just continues to roll out. That's the problem, folks. All the stuff that's going on underneath the surface, well, we're not looking. We're arguing over details that we think are important, but they're not. What this is all about is freedom. That's what it's about, and that's what it's always been about. And anything that gets in the way of that is simply a distraction. Anything that removes that focus is just a distraction, folks. It shouldn't be there, and it deserves no real attention. Let's establish some freedom, then we can figure out what's going on. We won't have to argue about it. Then we'll actually be free to find out. Won't that be helpful?
Attention men over 45, there's a 15-second trick that fully restores healthy prostate function.
I don't think most people understand just how quickly machine intelligence is advancing. It's much faster than almost anyone realizes, even within Silicon Valley. And certainly outside Silicon Valley, people really have no idea. If there's a super intelligent, particularly if it's engaged in recursive self-improvement, if there's some digital super intelligence and its optimization or utility function is something that's detrimental to humanity, then it will have a very bad function is something that's detrimental to humanity, like getting a spawn. The thing to do is and to maybe curve fit or extrapolate that progress and see where that leads. They have the intention of their utility function, but it can have unintended consequences. It's more likely than not that if there's some digital superintelligence apocalypse scenario, it would probably follow people to Mars. Not necessarily, because of that utility function. If it simply has a utility function that is arbitrarily confined to Earth, it would be totally fine doing that. This is the reason for Mars. There's two main reasons for Mars or becoming a multiplanetary. And one is the defensive reason. It's life insurance for life as a whole, and there's some value to having that. It would, in terms of a small percentage of our economic output, like let's say 0.5% or maybe even less of our economic output, to ensure that the light of consciousness as we know it propagates into the future for a much longer period of time. And so there's that defensive reason, and this is the first time in 4.5 billion years since Earth was first formed that it's been possible for life to move to another planet, to become multiplanetary. And that window may be open for a long time or maybe open for a short time. I'm actually quite an optimistic person. So I'm hopeful that it'll be open for a long time, but maybe it'll be open for a short time, in which case we should take action now and not delay it. I'll just say the other reason, which I actually find personally more motivating with respect to Mars, which is that it would just be the greatest adventure ever, and very exciting. And I think we need things in life that are exciting and inspiring. It can't just be about solving some awful problem. There have to be reasons to get up in the morning. Yeah, I think it is. From what I've heard of Oculus Rift and some of the other sort of immersive technologies, that it's quite transformative. You really feel like you're there, and then when you come out of it, it feels like reality isn't real.
Total surveillance.
So I think we'll see probably less physical movement in the future as a result of the virtual reality stuff. Well, there's some interesting things here on the virtual reality front. Just on the whole notion of a simulation, which is that if you extrapolate into the future and say, well, how good, let's say, will video games be in 100 or 200 or 1,000 years from now? If there's continued improvement and you're in a full body haptic suit,
it's an AI takeover,
vision, and it becomes, beyond a certain resolution, indistinguishable from reality. And there are likely to be millions, maybe billions of such simulations. So then what are the odds that we're actually in base reality? 1 in billions. So I mean, where we are now is I think on the SpaceX front, we've made evolutionary but not revolutionary progress. We're hoping to make revolutionary progress in the coming years. But the key breakthrough that we're aiming for is to be able to have the rocket booster come back and land. It's been expendable rockets up till now, really, except the space shuttle was partly reusable. But it was extremely difficult to refurbish for flight. You needed 10,000 people needed to work 9 months to refurbish the space shuttle. So what we really need is rapid and complete reusability.
You need to be careful of
like
advancing technology.
Or a car, or really any mode of transport is
Especially Elon,
is
to put brain chips in our
reusable.
brains.
Horse, bicycle, you can take almost anything. But imagine if that mode of transport was not reusable. So very, very unfortunate in the case of the horse.
Elon AI would destroy the
But even
world.
like in cars, like if you use a car once, and you have to buy a new car every time you took a journey, odds are you would not buy many cars, because it would be very expensive. So reusability essentially opens the door for reducing the cost of spaceflight by a factor of 100 or more. Yeah, in the beginning there was no government. I funded SpaceX entirely with the proceeds from PayPal. We got our sort of first government contract about 5 or 6 years after starting the company from NASA. But I should say about NASA's maybe a quarter of our flights, 3/4 are commercial. I'm not exactly sure whether we're at the right number for basic research. I mean, I'm a fan of research, so I'd be in favor of spending more money on that, allocating more resources to basic research. But I think the government's doing quite a bit. I mean, NASA's doing a lot of things. Of course, we've got the rovers on Mars. We've got the Hubble, things like the Hubble telescope, the upcoming James Webb telescope. There are planetary probes and Earth science missions launching all the time. So NASA's doing quite a lot. I'm not sure about the flying cars. I mean, that's not to say I don't think there should be flying cars. I mean, but if the sky was full of cars flying all over the place, then it would affect how things look. It would affect the skyline, and it would be noisier.
And nanotechnology,
and there would be a greater probability
and
of something falling in
implants.
your head. You know, those are not good things. On the other hand, that you could be able to go from one place to another faster. But I think actually, if you look at choke points in cities, then there's.
Brand. Today I wanted to give
That's a brief introduction. It's happening. Tried to warn Elon Musk. You know, these documents are from old to date. You look at the family history, Elon Musk, and he comes from a wealthy background. Ah, yes. The descent of the serpent, all those outside of Christ were sovereign. The seed of the woman, Christ, all women are in him by sovereign. And imagine how many people waking up going on.
Let
And a deceased pastor left behind.
deceased pastor
Left behind a chilling warning.
left behind.
Rivera. It is July 29th, 2021, and what a report I have to share with you all tonight. 2 specific reports on this broadcast that is really going to get your attention and confirm as a add-on, if you will, with all the other reports that I get to share with you all, that we are truly living in the last days. So first, let me share with you this headline here. It says, "End of the world. Deceased pastor left behind chilling warning for 2021. I'm going to get into that right now. This will be the next report we get into on this broadcast. Paying attention yet? Here are 10 plagues that our world has had to deal with so far this summer. All right. If you don't have your Bible, take a moment to grab it because you're going to need it. It's again, we're going to be learning as we continue to learn more and more in the times that we're living in. The days will grow darker. Evil men and impostors truly will grow worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. But what manner of persons ought we to be? But in holy righteousness and conduct, continuing to renew our mind by the Spirit of the Lord so that we can be ready for his coming. Amen? Amen. Now, I also want to say this very quickly because it's important. It's for the work of our ministry. I just want to take a second to invite you to ask if you've been blessed by the work of this ministry, and that if you have, that you'll take a moment, go to my website and place a donation. Your donations help make the work of this end-time ministry possible, and my website address is www.openyoureyespeople.com. The link is associated with this video, with this broadcast right now on YouTube. It is right under in the more information section. On Facebook is right on top of this video. There's a link, and also in the comments section for both. Also on Twitter as well. I want to say thank you. It's important that I put that out because it truly helps make the work of this end time ministry possible for people around the world to know the hour that we're living in, so that they can be prepared. They can renew their mind. They can submit and surrender their life to Jesus Christ and more. So thank you. God bless you. All right, now I want to get into this report again about the end of the world. A deceased pastor, you heard about this, left behind a chilling warning for 2021. It says here the following: the doomsday predictions made by Pastor Beshore, have made several people believe that the world will witness catastrophic events starting in the year 2021. Now, here we are on July 29th, and truly we're seeing, I believe, events that are bringing us closer every day to what some will call doomsday or the apocalypse, but what I call, by the Spirit of the Lord and according to the Word of God, the day of the Lord. It goes on to say in this report, predictions regarding a possible doomsday have been ruling the internet for several years, but until now, nothing eventful that matches an apocalyptic scale has happened on Earth. And the blue planet continues to be the perfect haven for life to flourish. And now, doomsday predictions made by deceased pastor Dr. F. Kenton Beshore, who was a former president of the World Bible Society, have gone viral on the internet. Now, Beshore made these predictions before his death in 2016. The pastor claimed that the beginning of the world, or that the beginning of the end of the world, will be triggered in the year 2021. Think about that for a moment. This pastor died in 2016, and he gave predictions just prior to his death that claimed that the beginning of the end of the world will be triggered in 2021, and then he also added that the second coming of Jesus Christ will happen in 2028. after 7 years of the tribulation period. Obviously, counting from the year 2021 to the year 2028 would indeed be 7 years. Anyway, the pastor strongly believed that there are sufficient signs in the world that indicate the possibility of an imminent world end. According to Beshore, 2 world wars that happened in the 20th century and the birth of Israel are all pointing to the end of the world. He said, and I quote, Jesus was saying in effect that we see birth pains, World War I, World War II, famines, pestilences, and earthquakes. You will know that his return is drawing near. It literally means born one. Jesus said this born one, being the nation of Israel, will be in existence when he returns. 7 major signs have already been fulfilled, he said. 5 major signs are currently being fulfilled, and 15 more major signs are yet to be fulfilled, predicted this pastor Beshore just prior to his death. Now, several followers of Beshore strongly believe that 2021 has already started showing signs of an imminent doomsday. According to these followers, the 7-year tribulation period that will begin in 2021 will be characterized by devastating events like asteroid hits, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and giant tsunamis. I believe there was an 8.0 earthquake that just hit off the coast of Alaska just this morning, local time. Well, listen, I happen to have a report here from the mostimportantnews.com and coming from the economiccollapseblog.com, again asking the question, paying attention yet? Here are 10 plagues that our world has had to deal with so far this summer. So this may very well line up with the prediction, if you will, the prophecy that was left by this deceased pastor back in 2016, just prior to his death. This report goes as follows. This is a summer that none of us will ever forget. There has been one apocalyptic disaster after another, and we haven't even reached the halfway point yet. At the same time, that historic flooding has been absolutely devastating parts of Europe and China. Unprecedented heat, drought, and wildfires have been hitting portions of North and South America extremely hard. On top of all that, countless numbers of birds are suddenly dropping dead. Hundreds of millions of sea creatures have been wiped out. The COVID pandemic is experiencing a major resurgence, and we are starting to see families.
So, next.
To have a good life.
Although I believe that this planet can support 2 billion humans.
How do you know that? It's a question of space and the resources that space has, and using those resources to survive and not exploiting them.
Almost 7 billion humans use too many resources. This leads to a very uncertain future for us all.
Right, climate change. Climate change occurs naturally. That's why we have the Ice Age.
So now you're telling me that climate change is fake?
As you know it. Why do you recycle? Why do you recycle?
I'm doing my bit.
So you're trying to save the planet?
Yeah.
How precious of you to think that you could save the planet. If she needed saving, especially from us, she'd just wipe us out. Hypothetically, if we want to conserve 80% of the planet's resources, then we should get rid of or cull that 20% of the population who consume them. Hypothetically, I guess that would be a solution. The final solution.
Well, is that event in the wake-up channel in Italy? Now, what's happening to the housing situation?
is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul?
Ogni volta, davvero, ogni volta. Prova l'altro braccio senza passare. Ma è tipo il terzo posto che fa oggi fa la stessa cosa.
Them just now. Keep Jesus on your pen. Amen to that. Prophecy. Warning from Israel.
I hope you've been well. It's been very, very, very intense over here in Israel. I don't know how much you're seeing, but it's terrible. It's a very, 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 very frightening situation. So I joined we had a human rights movement, and we made it into a political party that's running in our Knesset in less than a month, and they're censoring us and attacking us, and they won't allow any media, nothing. They took away the head of the party's his medical license, and they removed our platforms from Facebook, and now they won't let the media even write about us. So we want to ask all the international, anywhere we can get to publicize what we are saying. Very bad situation here. They're not letting children as young as 16 to take their matriculation exams without taking this injection.
That's in Israel.
They are, of course, insisting people for work. They're making this green passport where half the population cannot get into theaters or malls or all sorts of things unless they've taken the vaccination. They're creating a medical apartheid.
That's in Israel.
They have now issued, just this morning, they made it allowed to send each person's private medical records to the local municipality so that they'll know who's taken the injection or not. They're making people wear an ankle bracelet, security bracelet, when they come back from traveling. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. If I stop to
That's in Israel.
if I stop to think about it, I will cry, you know? But meantime, we just keep fighting, you know? Fighting as much as we can. So we need everybody's help because whatever happens here will happen everywhere. Will happen everywhere. So we're fighting for ourselves and we're fighting for the whole world. But we need help. So we need everything. Every hand on deck. Yeah, thank you, Slicha.
Wow. That's in Israel. Every town and city and country where you live in the world, educate yourself and your rights. total control. And you got children involved in all this. Keep banging the bathroom door in. You see, it's done right. That's here why they don't want the truth getting out. Oh, hi Tanya. How are you? I don't like the truth getting out, do they? I had a bad night. My lower part of the body, my legs didn't move. My spine. So whatever they've used on me during the night. 3 days in a row now. I haven't been able to move the next day. So yeah, unfortunately. Been trying to do exercise, strengthen the spine. How are you? They worked on my son because they blackmailed him. They have to. I went back on the audio. They're not taking him. I went back on my audio. I know they're trying to hack into my bloody everything I've got is hacking in. It's dangerous. Be safe, everybody out there. I can't use this. UK will be tomorrow, obviously Monday, where the ultimate game for them. They've got a new camera around the corner. Well, 2 now. Yeah, sorry that everybody that is being used as guinea pigs. And that's why I'm trying to share this image of the weather camera in Scotland. Just, I don't know if anyone has a belief, have a spiritual belief, but these weapons, I mean, even without the Wi-Fi on, a lot of devices turned off, the frequencies I'm picking up with the 5G. The 5G is very strong with the frequencies around here. So I'm constantly detoxing, keeping healthy best I can, vitamin C, you name it, I'm doing it. And that's what you can do. Yeah. So if you live in an area where you don't have anything built up around you, well, you have a better chance. And then, well, they're messing about with the weather because it's meant to be in hail and thunder today. Main forecast. So things I need, I've to go through my storage, see what I can make do with for a couple of days. Because anyone out there, if you've got any camping gear, you wind up torches and radio batteries, get them out. No matter where you are in the world, just get them out. Get them in a bug out bag. One bag I wanted to get, you have to juggle what's important. I'm not paying any more bloody bills than I need to. You know, what's important is to be prepared for cut-offs, power cuts, water cut-offs, any day. Okay. So go on to Anonymous YouTube channel. There's, what did I put in the chat? Forgot what it's called now. I did put the name in the chat to go and listen to it. It's out today, UK time. And there's sheeple. You can't save them. You can't talk to people that's not aware. Now, who in the world, big worldwide, ever consented to be a test subject for this advanced technology. So, Stimulated Reality YouTube channel is an excellent start for those that think all this is just made up. Because if your mindset as a flesh and blood living soul right now is still believe that individuals known as targeted individuals in this demonic program been going around for a long, long time is fake, then that's your prerogative. And if you keep using your programs like you do in history to date, of the MK Ultra program, like you use it on my adult son and making sure my communications cannot get through him, to help him, to warn him. And he doesn't want to know because you're working on his mind and you're blackmailing him because of his 4-year-old daughter. I've got audio evidence, you see, of the conversations for private use only. And I know 4 weeks ago happened, 4 weeks prior to that happened, where he blocked me on social media. Got no means of communicating, he doesn't respond. But the last one, where I was absolutely distraught as an adult, I got the audio evidence. And it was genuine. So you see, they have to use innocent individuals and tear people apart, their families, their lives. For what? You see, the subject target individuals, they use individuals themselves, and some people don't even know they're targeted. They just think things happen in their personal life is bad luck. But it repeatedly happens over a pattern of time and period of time. So people class the terminology as gaslighting. Well, you want to look at what that is. And there's psychological tactics. Well, I've got a brother that's trained in nihilistic programming. I know what that's about. I know what the MK Ultra is about, and that's generational. So when you look at David Rockefeller, and I've shared a couple of streams, you might want to go and check out the documents yourself. And you look at the history, and I used to be very good at reading up history. This is nothing new. But what is, in a period of time since the patterns and documents goes back to the 50s, well, since the telegraph poles, telegram, TV, radio, all these patterns, so-called modern technology, and to date, is like progress of society? No. It's for Tesla, for example, the original idea was meant to help mankind communicate what happened to the old-fashioned pen and paper. But here we are now, humanity is taken the blink of destruction of each other. The movies, I mean, I'm watching old movies at the moment, but these type of other movies, disaster movies, sci-fi movies, are telling the public what's going on or what's planned. So yeah, and then when you look at these documents I found, these classifications of 1947, and it clearly states that there is unknown entities out there are warning humanity to not destroy each other. But what's been going on for centuries? You see, the hidden knowledge of ancient knowledge of history is being covered up now, isn't it? Because a generation of children now, and in parts of the world, they just want them hooked up to like their matrix system to be good little consumers and do what you're told. So why do they need to come down heavily on individuals that are up and holding a God-given natural and evil rights? Why do you think so many people are turning to religion? One world religion. One world. You know, if you look at the numberistics, for example, when I'm looking at England, the prediction of the date of 11th November 2021, you work out the numbers. That's a Freemasonry, neuristical. They love numbers, don't they? I found out. And I worked out the numbers on that key date. Well, it's coming up next week, for a few days' time. Oh, sorry, I got the date wrong. Did I say August? I meant November, or did I say, I can't remember now. It's meant to be November. 11th, 2021. Add up the dates. Look for the specific numbers of 111. And then you add these numbers up, and then if you don't know what numerology is, you might want to look at to see the key Freemasonry, Illuminati, the 13 blood families. Who are the 13? Number 3. Well, 1, 3. Look at these history, ancient history of the 13 bloodline families to modern dates. It's in the bloodlines. They train them up, they intermarry, they train them up for all these education establishments throughout the history to date. And here we got what we got. Ultimate control, planet Earth. Every corner of Earth, practically. Apart from the nature, because they want to reserve nature. But you see, why do you think they have the sea vault in Switzerland? And seas are not just like agriculture. These are species, you know. Every species too is a bit like Noah's Ark, 2 of every kind. And that was a long time ago, that information I found. But yeah. So just don't fall for the fear, because that's demonic. That will raise the vibrations of the fear, will just raise your vibrations down. And that's what the powers that be like to control the mind with the neuro technology, the brain waves, the monitor that. I mean, this talk of AI, that's nothing compared to the supercomputers. A lot of them are D-Wave technology held over, for example, in Utah in America. And then don't get me started on the weather manipulation of called HAARP and geoengineering. You see, when was the last time you actually stepped out your own front door and you saw natural cloud, natural weather? It's happening all over the world. Look at the wildfires. Look at, when did you last hear a fire forest? You know, fire from a forest. Especially in Greece, meant to be a famous holiday destination before 2020. Coming down to a beach with all the apartments, the people having to get in boats and be in the middle of an ocean or river to escape from these fires. You see? It's not just Greece though, is it? You've got Turkey. You've got places where it's happening. If you get off that mainstream television called a TV programming, never watch mainstream TV if you can help it. Because when that pattern of the television was designed, it was designed for programming. And when you break it down, you know, all this technology, I find it very interesting when you look back in history and the ultimate recession in 1930s, maybe earlier than that, when people knew how to use their skills. They had people making things and making do. It was about time this world's going to come to a blink, a full stop, so to speak. because they just want you to be sit at home, virtual reality headset on, a bit like the movie called Fifth Element with Bruce Willis actor in it, where you're sitting and just munching on crap all day, and you have a single income coming in by the state, and you're just like, I literally can imagine a picture on one of those movie scenes, and you're just sitting in your apartment or your home or flat, and you're dosed up with whatever medical offer or services operated by AI computers into your body, artificial foods, and your virtual reality headsets on, and you can pretend you're on a holiday because with the headsets on, where the mind thinks you're actually virtually in a holiday destination, and you got the senses in the brain, the feeling, the smells, everything. Oh yeah. Never made these films for nothing, you know. Because don't forget the movie industry is controlled. Well, there's no secret because you can research all that. You see, this is what they don't want. The globalist 13 bloodline families, elites, and the offshoots. It's awakening. Everybody needs to be watched. Everyone is being watched, especially those with a conscience, with awakening soul, with a spirit, with a desire to survive, despite all the odds. Not everybody will, though. They will not know what to do. Those consumerists, those younger generations, those that go to the pubs, so-called clubs, buying all these new goods, and they won't know when the electric goes off what to do. They won't know when the shops don't have food in. They won't know, and this is when the crisis and the panic will come in, and when the military will come in. So why do you think they got a new CCTV camera, two of them close together, right in the archway, right opposite in the whole car park outside my area? I've got a video of that, you can check it out. And then another one on the entrance to the car park, and it's linked to the opposite AI zoomed in the slope area opposite me, surrounded. And then you don't really need this type of cameras around here because they got the brain interface technology. Yeah. So, and what they do with the MK Ultra, they tell your responses like they were doing me now, and with these internet of things, and you won't need all these handsets, computers, mainstream internet. You won't need none of that soon. You know, or just get an extra tattoo type device in your hand. This technology have a built-in. This is what the wearable devices is about, allegedly. You know, get you used to wearing permanent devices on your body, and next thing you'll be introduced. Oh yes, that's a good idea. Swipe all this device that's built into your skin, built into the chip or whatever else they got designed for the future of mankind. So if anyone's got any skills, you know, from a lot of people, I mean, look at the Amish community. Look, I mean, although they have a different religious viewpoints, but the ideas of self-sufficiency is 100% the way. For a long, long time, they knew. It must have been a long time ago about the humanity of life, the way it's the music industry turning young. I mean, look at the documents I found these past days. You know, the archives, declassification archive documents. So it says all, you know, just alter control of mankind. And it's beyond George Orwell. I mean, that book, The Pen Author, George Orwell, 1984, that's nothing compared to what the declassification of these documents and research in them. It's nothing compared to that. So, Yeah, so a lot of people cannot afford, you know, although I know about certain subjects like that, but in reality, when people live in the paycheck to paycheck each month, each week, or sometimes daily, and you know, and like you've got very good information channels out there and alternative media out there telling you what's going on, warning for a long time. But you see, you don't think, because the mindset, certain part of the either right or left part of the brain is like, no, it's not really going to happen. No, that won't really happen. You don't want to accept it, but it is. It's right in your face. It's here now. Whoever thought a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, all this would be happening right now? I, for one, didn't think it would go to such an extent that it is now. I had a gut feeling a lot of things, definitely. But I wouldn't have thought it'd get to such an extent where in Israel, they're getting the ankle bracelets on them. I mean, I read up about that today. And as I just said that, we've got the pert neighbour turning her light on. You see, what makes an 18, 19-year-old sell herself out? Sell her body out. Sell her life out. Turn the light off now. Selling her life out, sadly, at a young age like that. Because she used to be in the care system. And how that is run. People out there that does all these exposés and gets the facts and the hidden knowledge out what's really going on. Not, you know, for England's point of view. You know, the system. And they're the whistleblowers, I'm not. And because you see her family members and who she's working, I mean, when they come round, I can see why they put her into care. And all those years ago, you know, sadly, that type of family most probably didn't know about the Lawful Rights all those years ago. Well, how many families did? And how many young kids those years ago? And then still going on to date. Still don't know how the system works and why they do it. So, that's all I have to say. And I'll just check the comments. 9:30 now. So I was just sharing some brief information. Target individuals are telling the truth, making a cup of tea. Yeah, I'm just going to get a little. Well, I've got a tea, but I need something else. I don't know what it was to my back of my spine, Tanya. So. Skies that really demonic. But I'm still watching the weather cam there. I'll be back in 5 to 10 more later. It's like life goes on as per usual. For those that are not aware. Life is challenging.
The 80s was the splendid decade. That was my decade. Market analysts are warning that a crash is coming. It's not just going to happen in the future. It is inevitable, they say. They're warning that an unusual amount of short-term lending by cash-rich companies, a surge is what they're calling it. This amount is laying the groundwork for a market that experts say is not just in the future, but it is an inevitable outcome of the false rise in wealth for the upper class that they say will lead to Wall Street unrest in a very near-term future. Money market funds, investment agencies, and banks, of course, are holding over $1 trillion in extra cash. Wouldn't that be nice to have $1 trillion in extra cash that you could just put somewhere so that you could avoid paying things as a citizen, like taxes, so that you could avoid paying extra money on it? But wait a second, wouldn't that be illegal? Wouldn't they call that something like money laundering? And yet that's exactly what we're seeing. You see, what's happening right now is the markets don't play by the same rules that you and I do. If you don't have enough money to pay your bills, guess what? You're done. There's no one coming to help you. But the market doesn't play by the same rules. The U.S. economy is literally running on a deficit, literally running on so much debt that the only inevitable outcome is a crash and more, because they will have to acquire more physical goods, and that will come in the form of some sort of war in the future. The scale of this flood, they say, is insurmountable. So $1 trillion at the Federal Reserve in exchange for securities is what is happening right now. That is the most on record since the Federal Reserve, which again I'm going to note is not federal, opened the facility for reverse repurchase agreements in 2013. The scale of this flood has experts worrying that the markets for short-term funding appear to be vulnerable to disruption, and this will come in the near future as a flash crash in the marketplace. Repo is a heavily traded market with an enormous amount of turnover. That's why the past global head of U.S. Treasury trading at Citadel Securities on a daily basis, he says, it represents the bedrock of the Treasury market. It is foundational to the functioning of financial markets. You see, a lot of economists right now are saying that what is working shouldn't work. And if you look at quantum physics and how there's a duality there. There's something that can be both 0 and 1 at the same time, and it can be changed based on different variabilities, different variables. And that is exactly what the U.S. is doing right now. It shouldn't be working. The entire thing should be crashing, but it's not. They don't really know why, but they put down some pieces to the puzzle to say, well, if we just keep doing this, it'll stay up for a little bit longer. And that's where you see these companies all on. You remember back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, everything was called a get-rich-quick scheme. And so a lot of people got rich quick in these schemes, but what happened at the end of the day? They crashed a lot, and that is the inevitable outcome over the U.S. economy. It is going to crash.
Sorry, what they're doing
to
you, okay.
Scheme right now.
Which one can you?
These repo markets may seem like nothing to you and me, but they are vulnerable to change and crucial to keeping this bubble from hitting the floor. But the helium in this balloon is leaking. The Fed uses repo to control short-term interest rates, a practice that I'll note emerged after the regulatory overhauls and quantitative easing that followed the 2008-2009 financial crisis. Reverse repo sets the floor for overnight interest rates by preventing them from falling below 0, while the repo markets help set a ceiling. It's all a game. It is all a game just to keep those in wealth and power to be continually in wealth and power. It helps with policy implementation, said Daryl Dumpy, a professor of finance at Stanford University's Graduate School of Business. If there were no overnight reverse repurchases or reverse repo markets, the repo rate would fall and pull other short-term market rates lower, potentially moving the funds rate below the Federal Reserve's target range. It's an overnight game, and it's one that they control. But it's a beast that can only be controlled for so long. You see those people on Instagram and Facebook, sometimes YouTube, and in the news where they have tigers, they have lions, a couple of people have giant apes, and they're their pets until they're not. Because one day that pet wakes up and says, you know what, you look a little bit tasty, or I'm tired of getting controlled by you, and they have more strength than any single human, more strength than any group of humans, and that pet overtakes the humans. It's a beast, and it cannot be tamed. And that's what we're seeing right now. They can't tame, but they have a general control measure put into place to keep the beast of the failing U.S. economy from completely going AWOL, from completely turning against the controller. But one day, that beast will snap, and it will fight back. And that's the day that you and I prepare for. People want to change, and here it is. Companies more than ever before beginning to implement robotics and automation in areas that will send tens of thousands of people toward different jobs, toward your job, where they are going to be willing to work for less money. They're going to work more for less money. As the upside down jobs market and the wage to cost of living market continues to shackle the American people. Why is it upside down? Because it rewards the person, the servant, who is willing to do the most work for the least amount of money. Now, that might sound great for an employer, but for everybody else, if you're not an employer, for everybody else, it hurts. Because somebody else is going to do your job worse for you, do more work than you, and they're going to accept less money. And now you might argue that, well, that's part of the capitalistic marketplace, and you're absolutely right. And before crony or corrupt capitalism, that worked fine. When the person had the possibility of working somewhere for 15 years and then moving up that company, and instead of not being able to afford a car payment and a house payment, now they could afford both. But that's no longer. That's a day old. That's a different generation. And right now what you're seeing is people who have worked for 15, 20 years, they walk in today, and we get emails like this every single week. Emails that title and headline things like, Brad, my SHTF event just happened. I walked into my workplace, and after X number of years, I was laid off for no reason. They didn't do anything wrong. Somebody else was willing to come and do more work for less, or a different age demographic was willing to come in, and that company said, Bob, you're getting a little bit older. You're in your 50s now. You're almost on your way out. It's time to retire you. So let's pick up Jimmy over there. He'll work for another 15 or 20 years, or the chance of it. Or you know what? We'll just revolving door your position for the rest of the time. And that's okay with us as a company because we have no loyalty to you, the consumer, or you, the employee. I recently got on the front page of Forbes magazine as one of the top currency trading coaches in the world today. I've traded over 400,000. We are living through a corrupt system right now that rewards those in power and nobody else. But automation is coming. White Castle, factory jobs, fast food jobs, restaurants, shelving robots at Walmart, cleanup robots across multiple industries. Automation is coming for you. In a White Castle that is just south of Chicago for the past year, this report notes, an unusually hardworking employee that will accept no wages. It will accept zero money, but it's considered an employee, has worked without a wage, without complaining, as a fry machine cook. Flippy, as the robot is known, is no gimmick, says Jamie Richardson, a White Castle vice president, and works 23 hours per day, never complains, never asks for an increase, never asks for a day off. 1 hour that they say is reserved for cleaning it. Isn't that a lucky robot? It has operated almost continuously for the past year, manning or roboting the fry station at White Castle number 42. An industrial robot arm sheathed in a grease-proof coat sits there and does all the work of a human being. And you might say, well, Brad, that costs too much. Not anymore. Well, Brad, the logistics are too much. Not anymore. Well, how much will they have to pay for this robot? Not very much. You see, they are paying right now thousands of dollars per month. So what, $2,000, $4,000 per month? But if that single robot can replace 3 to 4 human beings, They're still saving money. And the trending outlook for robotics means they'll be able to lease these robots for $1,000 a month within the next 12 months. $1,000. That's dollars per hour. They will quit. They will fire everybody else. You'll wake up in a dystopian future. You think it's bad right now? You think this dystopia that you're living through is bad right now? Wait till the drones walk up to McDonald's. They don't even greet another human being. Maybe they hold the door for somebody. If they have just that tiniest bit of respect left in their body, they hold the door and then they stand in line. While they're waiting in line, they're keying in their app and they're saying exactly what they want. They're either paying with their phone or they're swiping that card when they get there. There's nobody asking how can they help them. Nobody asking can they take their order. And then after a couple of minutes, a robotic automation system slides their order to them. They walk away. You're talking tens of thousands of jobs across the United States of America that will be over in the blink of an eye. One night, you'll wake up and there won't be anybody working at McDonald's, working Wendy's, KFC, anywhere like that anymore.
Exactly.
And you might say that's okay because there's a wrong thought process in all communities that say those are starter jobs. Yes, before corrupt capitalism, they were. Those used to be starter jobs where the teenagers would go and get their first job, but no longer. Now the people who are working there have to pay their mortgage, have to pay their rent. They have to rent share with other people because they can't afford to live on their own. They have to take a bus to work because they can't afford, like I said, of that first individual, they can't afford their rent plus their car. We are living through corrupt capitalism right now. Everything from this point forward is no longer a problem for companies, according to automation trending experts. It's just a logistics hurdle, and they are clearing themselves left and right. Commercial kitchens, factory places, they are all using automation. Automation back in the early 1900s, and going into the late 1900s, it was said to have ushered in the two-worker household, where no longer the husband just had to work, or in some cases the wife had to work. Now both had to work because it took jobs. And you're seeing that right now. It's taking jobs. This was planned. This is all.
Up to this entity, Research Supplier of the Year and which recommended provider 4 years in a row. And that's why 94% of our customers.
This is all part of a bigger plan. You think the companies didn't know this day would come when society would someday say, you know what, I'm tired of working a servant's wage. Of course they do. And so they had plans. Remember, all companies are preppers. The government is a prepper. They all stockpile. They all plan for the worst case scenario. They all plan for their own SHTF event. Except when you do it, you lowly servant, you're called crazy, or you're considered to be somewhere just far off on some agenda, or you're a conspiracy theorist. But every company does it. Every government war games what is going to happen when the people revolt. They all war game what is going to happen when the economy crashes. They all war game what is going to happen when every possible bad event takes place. But you can't do it because when you do it, you're crazy. If you don't start to see the connection there with how you are labeled as something just for doing something right, something that everyone else is doing, then I'm sorry, there's not very much helping you. But I still want to help you. I still want your friends and family to wake up. And I want you to remember that just one thing will get started in the right direction. Let's make plans for what is coming. The financial markets are crashing. We just don't know it yet. The housing market is crashing. We just don't see it yet on an eye-to-eye level. The lumber market is going to crash because we are going to be able to pay for the exorbitant prices that they want us to pay. Food inflation is through the roof. Inflation across the board is through the roof. We are experiencing an SHTF event today. We're just normalizing it, and we're trying to work through it. But let's be smart about every angle that we are given. Let's take every advantage that we have. Let's plan and get through this together. If you have ideas for people how to get ahead, whether your ideas may seem outlandish, they may be, you might be into crypto, you might be into financial markets, you might be into making silk to make extra money, you might have goats, you might be breeding and selling chickens, no matter what it is, let other people know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to us here at Full Spectrum Survival.
There you go, and that's what to look for. And it's just comments. So if you got heat any hot rain, and the weather's affected, how you're going to grow things outside. Do you have space for alternatives? Because what I've noticed, and this information is useful, but also when you're talking to an individual, where do you get the support? Where do you get the network from? If you've got people where you live, you're absolutely part of this targeted gaslighting. You're not going to get the support from the so-called neighbours, because that's by design. So it's about knowing oneself and your abilities best you can to through this unlawful torture. And he was just describing very basic things, well, quite a lot of things actually. Yeah, so creating robots to take over people's jobs, as I just described. It's just like the Fifth Element movies. And if anyone hasn't seen, it's worth going and watching. But yeah, I don't particularly like people that just get information out, but they could do it in such a way. But be aware of false information so much, isn't it? Yeah, I can't particularly judge. Because you'll find people on different platforms other than this. Turkey Wi-Fi. You see, when you look at certain agendas, you see there's a good, someone put out a movie a few months ago. Third Eye Spies.
The Admiral is having lunch with...
What is it about? For more than 20 years, CIA's psychic abilities were used in the top secret spy program. Previously classified details about the ESP now finally come to light, and they can be more, more secrets. So, Free Movies channel, and it's about the third eye, telepathy. Demonic, really, when you think about it, but the technology could be behind this too.
Mrs. Taylor.
Isn't this nice?
Oh, look, it's the sun.
Let me just have a look at the bio. ESP-based drawing. The Secret Servant. You might want to go and check that out because it's like I can't put links
It
in.
was obvious to any intelligence organization that if you had an ability to be able to remotely perceive stuff, really remotely, like any place in the world, that could be an extraordinary intelligence source.
The remote viewing program basically ran from the early 70s to the mid-90s.
For more than 20 years, the CIA used psychic abilities operationally and in a top secret program for the U.S. government.
Oh, no, just.
You paid for them, you deserve to see them.
CIA, this stuff was so intriguing that we got back into the game.
We once found a guy that could see anywhere in the world through his psychic powers. We could show him a picture of any place, and he could describe any activity going on. And we haven't heard from him since. Director Stansfield Turner.
Opportunity, August 1977. I believe my people are
to the emergency room, which I visited. Speaking now as a pathologist, I would have investigated the hell out of it. But the one look at the murder.
Oh, there we go. We got one.
So what do you do with it after you catch it? Catch and release only. The cutthroats are now pretty endangered, so you can't keep them. Where the red is, it's like his throat's been cut.
Yeah.
Ken Kress was a long-term contract monitor at CIA. He was a physicist. Ken Kress became a mythic figure when he wrote a long paper in Annals of Intelligence describing our program, but he's never come forward.
Kress had never been interviewed in this film. Question should be asked. That illness.
He was thing with SRI.
So came up with my name because I was a physicist, and he called me in and he said, well, I'd like you to take over this project. And he said, the reason is there's two physicists at SRI.
Very bad.
I think you three can probably communicate.
Have a ship coming in. Hold on. What was that, Tanya? Very bad here, Waken. They have a ship coming here. Men on the ship have something bug. You mean immigrants? Is that right? Is that right? Isn't it interesting they control just certain people coming to the chat? Is that illegal immigrants in your area? Did you get that off mainstream TV? Work ships from different country. What work ship? Where did you get that information from, Tanya? Did you get that off? So, are they immigrants, illegal immigrants? Yeah. Was that on your mainstream TV news? You don't watch, as I said, be careful anything on mainstream media to research it on the internet, alternative means if you can. Just remember that allegedly all mainstream media is portraying narratives to get people confused and get them fearful, okay? Just take it with a pinch of salt and just be aware how it's going to affect you and your family personally. And the news source especially. We have a lot of ships offshore. Is that standard? And that's what you want to compare it with, your military, you know, for Australia and like in England. But you want to check out the independent, cross-reference information you get. So if you come across you're watching a telly program, you still want to watch TV, and you get the news, then just go and cross-reference with it. Go and look for alternative sources you might be aware of, and just do a search. Now, we have our coral ships. Coal, what do you mean COAL ships? What type of ships are they? Goods, to deliver goods and services, like bulk delivery, maritime goods services. Come around that area. Is it the Pacific? Is it Pacific? Gulf Coast? I'm not quite sure the location. So they deliver the goods. Now, what is Australia well known for its own growth economically? Coal for fires, right. So why would they have, and this is a question for you, you have a lot of ships offshore, so in the houses, I suppose, what, in Newcastle area, yeah, it's a well-known shipping port, isn't it? So that's business, that's standard economics, you know, for coal fires. And also, if businesses still running the old-fashioned system and haven't gone automated and computerized, they will use some kind of alternative energy, which is coal, for fires. I've known that from when I used to live in Cornwall, and the industry used to work. I didn't work there, but I knew how it used to work in the old days. So, and a part of Australia was known, was like well, that was part of America, I think. We mirrored some of the names you have in Australia come off, some of them from England, some from America. Our coal goes overseas, yeah. So your minerals, it's a large, Australia's very large. You've got your desert as well. So what is the main, if you know this, what's the main transport of goods? Is it just coal, or is it, what do you have a engineering platform? I'm not expert in your country. What, I'm not expert, nothing. But what might it be? Could it also be other skills? Because I know England likes to encourage people that's experienced in the medical industry. They've got a habit of doing that. And and saying, oh, come over here, we will train you up and pay for whatever. I mean, that's going back years ago. Most probably still do it. A lot of cool wine. So, right. So, depending on the temperature, you've got orchards, apple orchards, grapes, a bit like what France used to be famous for, and certain other countries. To, I'm not sure, the fruits, if you have, because it's quite a vast country. So depending on the climate, doesn't it? Is it also known for beef? I mean, raising cattle ranches, that kind of thing as well in Australia? Because some areas are quite dry, isn't it? Is it still the same? Meat up top end. Right, so the top end would be around Perth, I take it, of the country. So the northern end, okay. So the southern end, because of the climate, you don't really get much of a grazing land for the animals, I take it. It's worse now with the way the weather keeps changing. So you get most of the gold, as you said, it goes off. But why on earth would they want to bring, is that what you said, reference to right? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. Meat goes to the top and off to Australia, i.e. Queensland. Yeah. I used to watch a lot of programs actually, well-known programs made over there. Just see if I'll go back at the chat. I don't know. Can I do it? Yeah. And the bit what you mentioned about work ship from different countries. The bit where you said you have a lot of people coming in, men on the ship have the you-know-what bug. So what do you mean by the men on the ship? Is it just related to the delivery of goods? And is that on the mainstream media's portrayed that? One ship coming from Sydney, got you, to here at Newcastle today with right. So you need to be very careful. Be very careful. Okay. You know what you're doing. So you're a smart woman. Yeah. Yeah. So just be careful in case they, anything can happen from 1 minute to the next, especially anywhere apart of the world, the way the things are going. And seriously, when you're going through what we're going through, this program. So yeah. It's like in England, they keep bringing in the bloody people from different countries, illegal immigrants, would daylight, and there's an agenda behind and just said Australia. I'm not sure what part of it was. Was it Sydney? They had a great big demonstration. But the way it got handled by public servants in that area, the police, was unbelievable. And the way that over here in England, it doesn't matter where you live in the world. It's going on all over the place in different forms and different measures. And Israel, It's Victoria, yeah. Oh, right. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Okay. Right, so just carry on with his audio. Remote viewing, Mrs.
For example, to read the first experiment last year. He was in the room. The experimenters, Drs. Harold Putoff and Russell Tarr, were away in a car. The patient was in a sealed envelope. This day it was Palo Alto City Hall. The subject did not know. But back in the room, the subject began sketching and describing where he imagined they might be. Here was the tape recording that he made then.
And I feel around with it harder than ever. They close the thing called a quadrangle or a quad. And
well, I know about certain technology. In a minute, I'm going to turn the internet off because I don't want all this radiation keep coming in the way it is. This particular channel, on my screen sharing it. Let me have a look. It's worth a look. Well, they keep hacking me anyway, so. Alright, so this particular film is worth out. Especially with the technology, what we know about. There's a channel there. And the technology, what they did years ago, and how do we know this is really true? Okay, so I need to switch off now to rest my back. The powers that be was bring it on me again tomorrow. You email me, okay. Never a dull moment when they set you up and everything going on still. Fighting the Monit program. It's all about control. Which is not great. Cashless system, isn't it? Yeah, well, you look at how all this is, who's behind all this. Yeah, there's a good website, you know, called Zero Hedge. The articles are very forthcoming. I tried to stream a different platform earlier. And for some reason it wasn't working. Yeah, it's looking at ways to make do with things, isn't it? Especially when they're using this program, the Big Brother. Big Brother's watching everything, you know. Oh yeah, and the undercover, Flat 7, had an undercover policeman there yesterday. That Saturday, UK state. And just be aware the digital currencies, so if you've got anything to buy and sell you could afford. Do you remember anybody in your family knowing how to save and do? I wouldn't be too surprised. I'm tired. I'm back. Let me just see what image I'm sharing on here. Yeah, tired. Let me just see what image I'm sharing. Go back a bit. I'm sharing that one on here. Yeah, tired. Let me just see what. Right. Am I good? Say again, I can break up, could not hear what you said. Oh, what, I'm tired. I was just talking to myself, see what screen I was sharing. I have to turn off the internet because the radiation effects is quite not great. What am I doing? Alright, I'm just seeing if there's any information that might be working. Okay. Yeah, Christ's forgiveness. I think it's important to be spiritual. This is it was Sunday because the Sabbath originally is meant to be a Saturday. This Forgiveness website I personally is up to those that want to investigate more. It goes out in the streets. These are very well for the amount of views it's getting on his channel. There's more to lockdowns than you think. The purpose of lockdowns 3 months ago. I'll get this up and play it on my time.
What do you think the purpose of these lockdowns are?
Yes, yeah, purpose of the lockdown as well. He who has ears to hear and eyes to see.
Let me see if I can get this out without anything.
You think that these lockdowns are?
Yes, yeah, the purpose of the lockdowns. Well, he who has ears to hear and eyes to see can clearly see that the purpose of these lockdowns is to solidify and to speed up certain things. Number one, control over your body. So it's introducing forced vaccinations on people. So we at this period of time have rights over our bodies, okay? But with this whole COVID thing, now they're setting the stage so that you don't have rights, so they can force eject you, right?
Allegedly. How does he get away saying that? And other people have that say that, and they get their channel blocked. Gets me. That's what this is in America. He's called Pastor David.
This period of time have rights over our bodies, okay? But with this whole COVID thing, now they're setting the stage so that you don't have rights, so they can force eject you.
He's got it's called. Let me see if I can get it up on the end of the screen and share this. That's what he claims on 22nd April 2021 on the website. And this website he set up used to be in prison. He's a preacher. A year ago, and they kept it up. Right. He charges for his Bible studies. Free for engaged, avoiding Bible studies. This is the status on the website about us. I don't know if it's in America, it's different to England. And it quotes a Bible version, Romans 14 chapter, and chapter 2, Hebrews, Timothy. that's, don't know how they will get around that with, and then they do courses. But the cost of doing these Christ forgiveness courses as a student is expensive. They're not free, right? And that's why I'm always careful. Don't get me wrong, but I'm careful about being observing this in the background while. So they travel around the missionaries, the towns, etc. "11 missionaries, 7 cities." What, now in UK? That's the first. Good. That is the first. They want to be part of the Christ Forgiveness Ministries, be part of it worldwide, global. Anything global in it, movement. Anything global, and the word movement, be careful of. The code of conduct. Anything where you need to pay for anything, be very, very careful. So if you want to be a member, just be careful, especially when you're targeted. But this individual's stance on this particular comment, I'll get out of that now. Was this reference to what I just showed you? So yeah, I don't know how he gets away with saying what he's saying.
You clearly see that the purpose of these robberies is to I don't really watch this as nothing premise, but I have to say it because next week apparently we're not going to be able to meet like this again. They're locking it down for another 3 weeks or 2 weeks or something like that.
We've implemented the strictest measures in all of North America. So effective immediately, we're extending the emergency declaration and prolonging the stay-at-home order province-wide for an additional 2 weeks, for a total of 6 weeks.
In addition, effective Monday, April 19th at 12:01 a.m., capacity at weddings, funerals, and religious services will be limited to 10 people, indoors or outdoors.
So it's crazy because I'm watching Doug Ford make this announcement, and I wasn't trying to be critical. I literally just was watching it to hear what the new requirements were. So I noticed that the people talking were not wearing a mask, right? And it just occurred to me. So I was like, wait a second. Didn't they pass a law that in order to enter buildings and stuff like that, you need to wear a mask? You can't go shopping without a mask. You can't go in banks without a mask and all of that stuff. But then here we have the guys shutting down the whole economy, sitting, okay, mind you, 2 meters apart. I don't know. It looked a little less than 2 meters, to be honest. 2 meters is, okay, so maybe 2 meters. But they don't have a mask on. And every time they finish speaking, then they put back on their mask. I was like, isn't that strange? It seems like there's one thing that can stop COVID-19 is talking. Amen? So I think what we need to do is go into Shoppers Drug Mart, stay 6 feet apart, okay, we'll stay 2 meters apart, but just talk to everybody.
Talk to everybody. Just say, hi, how you doing? Man, talk to yourself. Just pray. Preach the word. There was a, sir, you ought to wear a mask. Like, wait a second. Doug Ford and the chief medical officers took off their masks around people as well, and they were okay, and they were inside. What made things even worse, I was thinking, it's like, wait a second. So they're locking everything down. They're limiting stores now to 25% capacity. But then it just occurred to me, it's like, wait a second, if it's 25% capacity, that means 75% of the people are standing outside in the line. You ever see a long line up for groceries, for Walmart, for Shoppers Drug Mart? A big line. Don't you think that they're going to catch COVID-19 because they're standing, okay, mind you, 6 feet apart, but they're standing there for long periods of time until they can get into the store, right? Because they're limiting the amount of people, especially when you limit the store to one person at a time. I went to a store recently, one person at a time, everybody's just standing around, walking around. Now, I thought about that. I was like, wait a second. So they're limiting or even closing parks, basketball courts, places or whatever. They're closing all of that, and at the same time,
Exactly,
telling you,
Tanya.
okay, well, you can't
Exactly.
really go around more than your family or yourself if you're walking
Exactly.
down the road. But then you have 75% of the people outside the door, and you're standing around for long periods of time. Where's the logic here? Did you have something to say?
Yeah, so I completely agree with everything you just said. So I'm wondering what you think the purpose of these lockdowns are if it's not for.
Yes, yeah, the purpose of the lockdowns. Well, he who has ears to hear and eyes to see can clearly see that the purpose of these lockdowns is to solidify and to speed up certain
my
things.
God.
Number one, control over.
I'm stopping this. Right. UK Army on standby to stop past supermarkets. Change the subject. Oh my.
Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks.
Okay. Change the subject. Gotta read up this. They're getting people used to British Army America now. Sorry, in UK now. The Army. Really? Let me do a quick search. I put to yesterday's date. Look at this. Army and Navy stores, UK spy. Right, and that's not the story. Let's get. Okay. Army could be drafted in to keep UK supermarket shelves stocked. Army could be drafted to draft in to stock supermarket shelves. Aimed HG driver shorted 7 hours ago. It's begun. You've heard it here. Right, you've heard it here. Bastards. Right, let me show you this article. My screen sharing this. They're getting people ready for the mindset. Okay, let me just make sure I'm going to read. Oh my goodness me, be prepared for this. They want people to get used to the British Army, so once they're on the streets, you'll get used to the Army on the streets. There's something else going on, not just the shops. Right, I'm going to share this story. Well, a few of them. Let me know this is coming up. I'll check it on there. UK mainstream media.
Third video.
Let me go into my channel.
Attention Menno.
Let me go into my channel.
Attention Menno.
Come on, stop hiding.
Let me go into my channel. Attention Menno.
Right, let me just happy. Well, let me just look at this. Let me look at this article. It's not government in the UK. It's servants. That's not okay. Look, every time you go on the internet, they're going to track you anyway. So they do it to me. Army could. So it's good. It's scaremongering. Today's State article, actually. UK World News. Block the blinking tracking. They do that anyway, right? Food warehouse set for North Wales retail park under plan by site. Look, warehouse distribution units. Anyway, it's expected to make a formal requirement to Ministry of Defence, the limited company contract, to go into this private run, right? Empty shelves hit shops as people start to panic buy. Oh, come on. When was this done? Okay, because I need... What's the time now? I got things in. Who's panic buying? Because people are meant to be on holiday at the moment. Right? So who's panicking? Anyway. The Ministry of Defence, for short, the Army, is on standby. It would be the reserves, surely, to set up, well, to step in as food shortages in Britain continue due to a shortage of HGV drivers. Lorry drivers. It has been reported by who? More than 2,000 drivers from the Royal Logistic Corps. Yeah, standby. Okay, those are trained in driving big trucks. And other regiments will reportedly be giving a 5-day notice. Will doesn't give you the dates. They will help share the food and other supplies such as medicine. Just be careful about that. Alternative medicine, home remedies, if you know about it. According to the, don't even believe this mainstream BS, Daily Mail. But look at alternative sources, research if one is able to. The claim of public servants or government is expected to make a formal requirement to the military for assistance. In July, okay, now what it's called in England, the Road Haulage Association is a limited company, nationally. And they have members that run businesses throughout England. If you know anything about contract law, you know, you can learn how this works, you know, within the contracts. So the public will be funding this, will they? By the public purse. Because that's who funds towards these national services. Public run, anyway. And it goes on to warn that there was a shortage of 100,000 lorry drivers in the UK. Well, were they all gone because of the Brexit issue, of the previous disputes between the borders between France and England for a period of time, or something else? It says the shortages has made an impact on delivery of food. Look at this bloody document. It's by design. The food shortages is by design. I've found the document about it. This is by design. The World Food Shortages, 1977. Kissinger Plan for the World Food Control. It's a document. Kissinger Plan for the Food Control. And this was published on the 8th, 1995, republished. Henry Kissinger, the National Security Council, U.S. document, 1975. The National Security Memorandum. Implications of worldwide population growth for U.S. security and overseas interest. So it just goes into privacy. Oh, look, you CIA former director at the time was George Bush. Okay. So it goes into all the history for where we are today. With the military and security, and look at the 13 countries they started this off with. Okay. They're using the food as a weapon. Like anything else, it says back in the document. It's declassified. So I remember we growed our own food years ago. Psychological tactics. So let me go back. Right. To the news item. So, one warehouses, 2 supermarkets. Don't say which ones. The issue's been worse by, you know what, the C word. As many drivers are forced to self-isolate because they've had the ping. And if you look into in England, what they are doing with NHS England Limited, Public Health England Limited, companies, yeah, and how they're using the technology to do that. So somebody has spoke to the Sun, and really believe this, Sun on Sunday? Oh, of course, it's an unnamed source. Messages are sent out to the army personnel who's got the heavy lorry qualifications. Of course, you believe the mainstream media. Look, you can always rely on mainstream media for their BS and go away. Start tracking my every bloody thing I do, especially online, reject all. So they just want you to get used to, look, I'm not surprised. Because when I've been in a local store and saying, oh, what have you got? You haven't got certain items in it. There's other stores available. See other psychological images. Get used to seeing, look, in the lorries, get used to seeing them around. Get the public used to seeing them on the street. Oh, here they have the headline. Operation Feed the Nation. Hand-on delivery standby. Britain's chaotic shortages of truckers and food. Of course, it's going to start bloody panic buying yet again. A formal requirement and the government military help expected immediately. Please bear with us. Look, the title, Psychological Tactics. Bear with us. That's on water, by the way. If you know how to boil water, cool it down, and, you know, storage of water, then important to do that. Emergency measure has been taken to shortage of qualified truckers in the UK. And it goes on a list. Soldiers were put up in hotels. Oh, wow. So who's going to fit the bill for that? Who is the public are not going to be happy? Or they're going to put up with it? Soldiers will be put up in hotels. So that's going to profit the national hotel chains. Is that when the public comes away from hotels? Or are they going to mingle with those on holiday? And it does say when necessary. Why don't they go into the barracks? Empty barracks that's around. Anyway, it goes on. We'll be working to extend in hours to assist with the crisis. What crisis? That they created all along, allegedly. They will be involved with food distribution as well as transportation, essential goods, medical supplies, and understood the action plan will be carried out under ballot operation. Oh my God. Don't they like their titles? British military ongoing response to you know what? It's a way psychologically to get you used to having them around and seeing them around and their uniforms. Look, if you don't read the history, they are putting they've got plenty of supplies in these warehouses throughout England. If it wasn't for powers that be doing all this wouldn't be happening. Anyway, I know fully well this company called Premier Foods, and they got a contract with Best Way, and it's Best Way Group is a head office in London, and they have warehouses throughout England, the biggest one going. So they're going to make a huge profit. Okay, they just want money. They're just going to make a huge profit out of this. It's all about finance at the expense of ordinary members of the public. The call for the military intervention came at a meeting of Department of Environment, Food and it says which one it is and who they are. Okay, so the big chains, the big corporations, the smaller Polish shops, the alternative shops may be fine. So it's worth looking at alternative and shopping around. I've always known this and talking to these people that run these smaller places. They know where to get alternative supplies and alternative places, you know, not relying on the big chains. It's important. And if you do have your local farmers market or you have your local farm shop or something like that, you can get to, you know, though, in one's area, you might be even better that way. It goes on to imply yeah, so it just goes into that article and it goes into another issue. Army drivers are used to driving army lorries, not civilian vehicles once again. They are using a short-term fix. Yeah, get used to this for longer term. Maybe. It is not a good idea. We need to address to do what to get another 100,000 drivers. Meanwhile, it's emerged short regional lockdowns could return the winter. See, I knew it. What I said earlier about November the 11th, 2019, and maybe before. In case, and it quotes what that is about in the article. Should more lockdowns be necessary, the plan is for them to be short and preferably in school holidays. October over Christmas, fire breaks rather than lasting for months. And then you go into the picture or promotion of just one and a promotion of the app. Because their bosses tells them, if you have this on your smartphone and you have that, this is why they've got the new CCTV cameras in my area. And look, this is an old picture from beginning of the year. Why are they reusing these old pictures in the mainstream media from 2020 when the first lockdown happened, when people were panic buying? This is a picture from beginning of 2021 when the Brexit issue happened, when the backlog of lorries was about entry to France and not entry. On one side of the road to the Dover and port, the port of Dover in South England. But the mainstream media are portraying the fear that it's now, this is happening now. So be careful, anybody out there. Just research your source of information, because the mainstream media like to put the fear. And that's why I just don't go on YouTube, look for it. I look and research if I can. After that, mainstream, yes. That was. Yeah. So anyway, I'll go now. I need to rest. But Tanya, blessings to you. Just be careful out there, guys. Everything's changing so quick, and just be very, very careful. Because these and also mainstream news as well. I need to rest. Yeah, so you got Military Defence Limited, who run a defence school of transport. That's image one of the articles. And again, you got the similar. Yeah, same mainstream source, mainstream narrative media. It's the same right up. Yeah, it's the same wording. So there you go. And so just be careful of the source information. Okay, take care. God bless. Tanya, yeah, email me. Take care.